Lex Imperialis is the brand new expansion for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. I've been playing it for the past 2 weeks and I'd like to thank my friends at ARPJames for providing early access to the expansion. In this video, more than a review, I will talk about what can you expect from the expansion that is going to be releasing on the 24th, what are the new additions and how do they actually feel on a brand new playthrough. Because while I did have endgame save file to enjoy the expansion, I also did a brand new playthrough just to see how does it feel to play that organically with the game. So first and foremost, there's a free update with a new weapon. I believe that this was already added on a previous patch, I'm not entirely sure, you do not quote me on that, but you do not need to have access to the DLC expansion to have access to the weapon, and that is shields, and I love them, really. They are not only good for the new Arbitrator class, which is the Overseer class and subclass for the Arbitrator. We'll talk about that in a second, but they are also amazing for different classes, even soldiers. But what comes to mind, it's also Vanguard, because you can finally have sword and board with the shields. The shield opens up a whole bunch of tactical approach on combat, and tanks are, well, even tankier now. Just a little bit of a spoiler from my video, not from the game. You can get a pretty beefed up, powerful character with the Overseer if you paired with a character with high agility, with the shoddy for AoE. Lots of people were trying to, I know that a lot of people are trying to make good shoddy builds because it's kind of like underpowered too compared to some of the things that the soldier can use. Now you can use a shield and a shoddy to be a tank that deals massive, and I mean massive AoE damage, so that's actually kind of nice. But then again, talking about that, we also have the new class, the Overseer, and the archetype of the character, the base race of the character, or the base class, which is the origin class, which is basically the Arbitrator. And it also, you have a new companion with the Overseer that you can give orders to, and that's pretty much the highlight. We already had somewhat of that with the Psychics, but I do think that this brand new cool stuff in here to be had, it's actually a little bit more freedom that you can have. And it's pretty powerful. Like I was saying, you can get a pretty beefed up character that I'd say that the companion will enhance your overall damage, but just the shield on itself with the character and with one talent that you have with the Overseer that allows you to use a heavy shotgun on one hand, a shield on the other one. You add ballistics, you add the talent from the soldier to increase your AoE damage with demolition, and then you also have huge agility on your character. So pretty much you have a AoE damage dealing distance tank that it's just so pretty, it's just so freaking powerful. On top of that, once you're done with your action points to deal damage with your stuff, you still have your companion to do more damage. So it's a pretty fun and beefed up character to use, of course. Now when it comes to the narrative, it's pretty much more Warhammer 40k, and I do believe that Rogue Trader it's one of the best games out there on this universe. It's just more of that. The story is pretty amazing, and mostly you have a companion quest line, much like previous expansions in here. This time around we have an Adeptus Arbitis, a Lex Imperialis enforcer. So what is the Lex Imperialis, or the Imperial Law? In the world of Warhammer 40k, it is the final word and law from the Emperor, furthermore followed and enhanced by Robotech Gilliman. They're basically space police, and they make sure that the Imperial Law is being obeyed, and hierarchy is like many a time somewhat blurred, because there's like some people above them, but that also cannot order them around or command them, so like it's like conflict of interests sometimes. Some of those exceptions being, for example, the Rogue Trader and the Inquisitors. But the rest of the nobility and everything that else that works in the Imperium, the Adeptus Arbitis, or the Arbitis, they are always pretty much above them, and no one has jurisdiction above them because they enforce directly the Emperor's law. So in this quest, you pretty much do something like that. You go out there and enforce the law in a place, a planet where the nobility are doing stuff that the Empire wouldn't really agree with, and your main character, your new companion, asks for your help to go enforce the law in that place. As for the character on itself, let's actually talk about him. There's a couple of stuff that I like about this quite a lot. And there's some other things that I do not like that much. Specifically, the thing that I do not like is that this character stats, you get him on the second act of the game, and you get him while you are, or he is at the very least, level 24, meaning that you already have the archetype for the soldier mastered, meaning that you cannot build the soldier portion of this character. There's a couple of things that I do not like, and we'll go deep dive into them in a little while. And you're going to have a level 4 on the Overseer, so there's 4 levels into the Overseer that are already going to be picked up for you, and you cannot change them. I do believe that the most of the DPS that this character is going to be coming from is going to be from the soldiers. Soldiers are very, very, very powerful characters, especially this one, now that we have the shields, and now that we have the shields masteries and things like that. And but there's a couple of things that I just wasn't able to take that I wanted, that I consider myself for them to be a must on each of my playthroughs for Rogue Trader. And you cannot get them until you get the Exemplar, because this allows you to choose more talents from the soldier that you would otherwise wouldn't be able to take while you're taking the Overseer, because on the Overseer you're just getting more Overseer talents and the soldiers are already wrapped up. But then again, there's a couple of things that I actually do like, and I do believe that this is a solid character, that it's already to some extent pre-built for you to start using, and that it deals like lots and lots and lots and lots of amazing damage. One of the main things that I liked that is already chosen for you is the Demolition Engineer, which basically uses the demolition. It's no longer going to be just something contextual for you to disarm traps or blow things up. You can now use your demolition skill to deal damage, and as you can see, they're actually taking the demolition skill as much as they can, and it's pretty high. I have it right now on 125, although I am a high level character, but then again, that's actually kind of nice. Also, this is a character that is going to be pre-built for you if you do not have like someone that takes decision or that convinces people to think like you do. This character is actually going to do so because he has coercion. And he also has somewhat of a hyper persuasion. The character is also going to be taking lots of agility, which, like I mentioned, is essential for this character. You have lots of agility, you have a shield, and with the shield you have a two-handed shotgun on the offhand, so you have the blocking skill from the shield on itself, and then you have the agility. You're basically an invulnerable tank that it's going to be dealing lots of massive of AoE damage that it's already pre-built in here. You don't have to think about that because you already have the Demolition Engineer, so that's pretty cool. You also have Point Blank, which, as you can see, it increases the percentage in damage for armor penetration with the enemy. So this guy is just a massive monster of dealing AoE damage, and you don't really have to care too much about him. Just know that if you're going to be using him, you cannot change what he is. This is what he's always going to be as a base, because the soldier, more than anything, is going to determine that kind of playstyle that he's going to have. Some of the stuff that I would have liked to have earlier on during my playthrough that I had to take later on is going to be like the swift movements, especially with a character that is using a shoddy. You want to have as much movement so that you not AoE your friends. So yeah, movement is very, very important for this character. You're not allowed to take this until much later on, and you have been taking like basic talents, the common features that otherwise he has some stuff that I consider that it's not really that good, but that's for me, for my personal playthrough, playstyle, and how I like to have him. Later on, also on the early stages of the gameplay, you do not get access until you are like level 35-ish to It Will Not Die. This is a personal preference. I like to have this one right in here so that my characters won't have that much injuries, but if you're like more a tactical player, this could be avoided by all means. However, if you're playing on the higher difficulties of the game, I consider for this to be a must, but that's just a personal preference. The one thing that I do not like, that I had to take so much flipping time for me to be able to pick it up as a soldier talent, is the rapid reload. And you will see that I immediately, as I got to the exemplar, as I got the chance to go back to the actual soldier talents, because the exemplar, what it does is that it gives you more enhancements to your characters on itself, like the base core of the character with general random stuff, but it also allows you to go back to both of your archetypes, this being the overseer and the soldier, and I consider especially for some very high quality shotties that you have on the late stages of the game, although you could argue that yeah, they are late stages of the game weapons that you will get. Anyways, there's very good shotties that you get on later stages of the game that deal massive amounts of damage, but they don't have that much ammunition. So that's why it's so important for a soldier to have rapid reload. As a matter of fact, on every of my soldiers on very early stages of the game, I always like to have rapid reload because they burn the ammunition with the amount of damage and aggressiveness that I use them for, specifically with this character that uses a shield and that it's always on the front line dealing massive amounts of damage. So that's one huge downside, that you cannot take rapid reload early stages of the game, but that's just me. It's my build and it's a personal bias. This is an expansion that is going to give you about 15-ish hours of playthrough. It's going to yield you access to new areas, it's going to yield you access to new cinematic events, and just allowing you to have that cinematic feeling of having the Lex Imperialis Enforcer right in here with your crew. So it's a pretty cool expansion, and I have been having a blast. The only thing that I didn't like, and this is just like a side note that I wanted to add, is that now that everything is said and done, when I finished the questline, I believe that they rushed how your character, how the companion gets back into your flagship. And while I do think that they explore with a whole bunch of text what happened, I think that it just happened too abruptly. Like just one time you're in here, and then the next time you're on this opposite different time with your character doing. If you play the expansion, you will get what I'm trying to convey in here. But how the companion ends up being on a completely opposite place to where he started without having to give you any kind of explanation. That's what I did not like. But overall, the lore, it's just more Warhammer 40k lore, and it's amazing. If you like the content, you like the videos, I appreciate it. And also you today, you gorgeous beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join Discord, have a beautiful day, and goodbye.